Good evening, I'm Suma with Suma News TV. Tonight, we examine the escalating trade war between the United States and Canada, a conflict shaking the foundation of North America's automotive industry and reshaping the future of electric vehicles. President Donald Trump has officially followed through on his campaign promise, signing an executive order that imposes a 25% tariff on all imported cars and auto parts. This sweeping measure spares no one, whether it's European luxury sedans, Japanese hybrids, or even Canadian-made components that have quietly powered American vehicles for generations. At first glance, this policy may sound like a bold step to protect American jobs. But in reality, modern cars are no longer simply American or foreign. They are complex global puzzles. Take, for example, the Ford F-150, often celebrated as the pride of American pickup culture. Behind its iconic badge lies a supply chain spanning 47 countries. The engine block may be cast in Windsor, Ontario. The transmission could come from Monterrey, Mexico. The battery management system that powers Ford's electric fleet, designed in Waterloo, Canada. Only final assembly happens in Michigan. Trump's tariffs have turned this web of cooperation into a tangled knot overnight. The impact is already visible in American showrooms. The Ford Mustang Mach-E, once positioned as an affordable EV for middle-class families, has seen a sudden $2,000 price increase. The F-150 Lightning, Ford's flagship electric pickup, is now projected to cost over $72,500 by 2026. According to Kelley Blue Book, the average price of a new car in the U.S. has climbed to $48,699, forcing millions of families to hold on to their aging vehicles. Economists warn that nearly 1 million car sales could vanish in 2025 alone, a staggering blow to both Detroit and American consumers. But Canada, America's closest ally for over 150 years, isn't standing still. Ottawa has launched a four-pronged retaliation strategy that experts are calling one of the most sophisticated trade responses in modern history. At its heart lies Canada's most powerful asset, nickel. Nickel isn't just another metal. It is the lifeblood of every electric vehicle battery. A single Tesla Model 3 or Ford Lightning requires 38 kilograms of nickel, much of it historically supplied by Canada. What makes Canada's nickel so critical isn't just quantity, but quality. Mines in Sudbury, Ontario, produce some of the cleanest nickel on Earth, powered by hydroelectricity and advanced technology. Compared to Indonesia's coal-fueled operations, Canadian nickel is 9 times cleaner in carbon terms. Trump's tariffs, however, slapped the same penalties on Canada as they did on rivals like China and Russia. Overnight, the cost of Canadian nickel skyrocketed for U.S. automakers, jumping from $775 to over $1,050 per EV battery pack. The fallout was immediate. Ford projected an additional $1.5 billion in losses, while GM's profit margins fell from 10.1% to just 8.3%. Canada's response was surgical. First, it introduced a 15% export tax on raw nickel headed to the U.S., effectively choking American battery makers of their clean supply. Second, Ottawa rolled out a carbon tracking system, rewarding buyers in Europe and Asia with fast lane access to clean Canadian nickel, while American companies were forced to pay extra. Third, Canada invested $257 million into domestic LFP battery research, reducing its own reliance on nickel. Finally, Ottawa offered lucrative tax incentives to global giants like Stellantis and LG, ensuring their new 20-gigawatt battery plant would be built in Windsor, not Michigan. The results: by mid-2025, Canadian nickel exports to the US had declined for the first time in 3 decades, while shipments to South Korea and Germany surged by 23% and 18% respectively. Canada didn't just redirect trade, it rewired the global EV supply chain. And the irony, the policy Trump sold as America First, is now leaving American automakers dependent on dirtier Indonesian nickel, inflating their carbon footprint and risking access to the European market. Starting in 2026, the EU's €115 carbon border tax could add as much as $3,200 per vehicle to American EV exports, making them uncompetitive abroad. Meanwhile, Canadian-assembled EVs, powered by Sudbury's clean nickel, will enter Europe tariff-free. For American workers, the fallout is devastating. Ford's Chicago plant recently laid off 2,300 workers. GM's Lordstown, Ohio facility has suspended operations. Meanwhile, just across the border, Canada's auto industry is booming. Windsor, Oshawa, and Oakville are seeing billions in new investments and thousands of high-tech jobs, many of which were originally planned for U.S. soil. What began as a tariff meant to protect American workers is now pricing them out of the market, shrinking demand, and exporting jobs north of the border. Families are paying what experts call a patriotism tax, more money for fewer options, while Canada secures its place as the backbone of the clean energy future. So tonight, one question remains. Can America survive alienating its most loyal ally at the very moment the world is racing toward an electric future? Because while Washington builds tariff walls, Canada is building bridges to Europe, Asia, and beyond. And the future, whether America likes it or not, is increasingly Canadian. This is Suma, reporting for Suma News TV. Stay tuned as we continue to follow the fallout of this unprecedented trade war and examine how China is quietly moving in to capitalize on America's mistakes.